Most of the things I want to say can't be said, and therefore I have to say them. I have to find ways to say them. I've also got characters who can say them. Besides freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of choice, we can marry anybody we love.
More than anybody know the power of humor. And maybe that's a place to start. Welcome to the Rocktirement podcast, brought to you by Circle Senior Living. I'm Gidon Novik, your host. Join me as I dive into the vibrant, dynamic lives of extraordinary people, bringing us inspiring stories and bold insights. Let's get started. Peter, welcome to the Rocktirement podcast.
Thank you.
On this beautiful Friday afternoon, we're in the Cape Winelands. It's a gorgeous day, a little bit of a winter breeze still blowing. I see you dressed nice and warm.
Yes.
But what a treat it is to have you. This experiment, if I can call it that, is something that we've started to try and get into the heads of people in their elder years. What is it like? What does it feel like? People that have had remarkable lives. You've had a remarkable life. We want to explore that. We want to explore where you are right now at 78 years old. And I just can't tell you how excited I am. One thing I must share with you is I grew up as a privileged white South African. I'm 54 now, and I can remember so clearly in my 20s and 30s having the privilege of seeing your content and enjoying your content and getting to know Evita Bezuidenhout and feeling, you know what, there's somebody that's speaking truth to power, that is saying what needs to be said, but not only that, is doing it in a way that's making us all laugh. And you, more than anybody, know the power of humor. And maybe that's a place to start. Like, humor, in my mind, is a happy pill. It makes me feel happy. It makes people feel happy. Do you think it's something that can enhance a life, can lengthen a life? Humor?
Interesting you start with humor, because I have always realized that there are two things. One is comedy and one is humor.
Yes.
Comedy is the joke. You try to remember the joke to tell it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Humor is laughing at fear and making that fear less fearful.
Yes.
The example I give to some people who sort of say, what do you mean? You go into a room, your best friend is hiding behind the door. You don't know your best friend is there. Your best friend goes, boo. You go, and you seat your best friend and you go, ha ha. That's humor.
Yes.
It's not funny, but ha ha,
Yes.
I can see you. And I've always said, if you look away from your fear, that fear will win. It'll become 2 miles high. Fear is never taller than you. It's always less than you. But
Yes.
keep your eye on it, because it can still kill you.
Yes.
And that's why the danger of humor has always been very vivid for me. It's complicated. Most people actually are quite shocked that they don't have a sense of humor. I think we've all been born with one, but I think education and home life does tend to dull things down.
Yeah.
So I wished I was better at telling jokes. I start with the punchline, so that doesn't help. But humor to me is really, truly the motivation for me to explore where I can actually put my finger in the pie and then offer the pie to somebody to have a nice snack.
Beautiful. It's so powerful. And you've been so courageous with the way that you've been able to introduce humor and take on issues that many others would have been afraid to.
It's a definition for me. 49% anger, 51% entertainment, not the other way around.
Yes.
You can't shout at people as entertainment. You can't. P.W. Botha does that. So you've got to always find a way of allowing people to enjoy the story without going, oh, I can't listen to this. I mean, just to give an example now of what's happening in the Middle East. My friends, my Jewish friends, I'm a Jewish person. It's impossible to have a conversation. It's impossible to have an opinion. It is so toxic.
I know.
It is so frightening. And I just keep on saying, for heaven's sake, talk. And they do. And I actually had a piece I've just done a show in London called Sell by Date, by the way, with my Nobel Fine, my Jewish African princess, my Kugel, who is still my favorite character.
Yeah.
And everybody loves her. And the people who don't know her get to know her. And there's always a Nobel Fine in the audience. No, I lie. There are always 60% Nobel Fines in the audience. And because she's in London, she also says, I love it in London. She says, you know, all my friends say I must come and live in London. And I say, you can't get a decent Polish maid in London because of Brexit. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Give me Cape Town any day. I'd rather be murdered in my own bed than have to get up and make it myself. Then they laugh and they laugh. And then she says, but my most upsetting thing is my cousins in Tel Aviv. You say Tel Aviv, that audience goes... They don't talk to me. They have cancelled me. I mean, what did I do? All I said was, Israel, where is your F.W. de Klerk?
Yeah.
Palestine, where is your Nelson Mandela?
Good question.
People cried.
Yeah.
People just suddenly thought, yes, there were two people in South Africa's history who actually got together and prevented us from being Gaza. We were that close. So that's where the minefield is. That's where the TikTok is. That's where the explosion can happen. But it's always got to have 49% this, 51% that.
Yeah. So do you find there are more things that you can't say now? I mean, do you have to hold yourself back on any topics or issues? Most
of the things I want to say can't be said, and therefore I have to say them. I have to find ways to say them. I've also got characters who can say them. Yeah. Evita Besaidnet is probably the only mouthpiece I've got left for everybody in South Africa, because just because she doesn't exist doesn't mean she's not real.
Yeah.
And the success of Evita is, first of all, she's 10 years older than me. Very important.
Yeah.
I'm always the pookie here. Also, she has no sense of humor. Or sense of irony. She doesn't understand irony, which makes her a very understandable person, because she will laugh. She will go, oh, haha, dankie, dankie. Thinking, ach, dis baie oulik. It's very sweet. But it's not the knowledge of being laughed at. She laughs with. So that's been a very useful way for me to actually find ways of moving into the political situation.
Yes.
Where she is a member of the ANC, she's cooking for reconciliation. And then the question is, why would Tannie Evita cook for reconciliation? She says, because I was always the best cook in the National Party. And I know if you put enemies around a table, if you give them good food, they start talking, they eat, they listen, they realize there's no reason to be enemies.
Yeah.
The example is the Cook sister. It's 3 pieces platted together, and you say one is black, one is brown, one is white. South Africa.
Perfect.
So there are places and ways. I do not want to demean people. I do not want to insult people. Sometimes, you want to do it so badly.
Yeah.
But I want to offend them, because offending somebody has rattled their political cage. And they think, I don't believe, really? No, that's fine. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
But it is, political correctness is definitely my enemy.
Yeah.
So I use it also to my advantage. But every day I work on the material. I mean, it's got to be now. There's nothing more sad than old news, because it's pointless.
Of course. And are you resonating with younger people, do you think? Or do you think it's mainly the traditional audience?
Well, my traditional audience I respect hugely, and I'm so glad they're still alive. It's marvelous. So many of my audience are younger than me, and they look 10 years older than me. I mean, they call me Boetie, and I call them Oom and Tannie. The young people are incredibly important. I'm trying to catch up with the TikTok and the Instagram and all those things, which actually are such a waste of time, really. I've got a piece of paper stuck on my computer which says, don't press send when pissed. because one gets so angry.
No.
And then you have a glass of wine, and you get more angry, and then I'm going to change the world. Send. End of life.
Yeah.
You can't get it back.
Can't.
Not like in the old days, you could open the red box and get your letter out,
Yes.
you know. So one has got a self-discipline that is very strong.
Yeah.
But young people are enjoying my work.
Great.
Really, in the old days of apartheid and censorship, Adapt or Die, which was my first one-man show, 1981, 82, 83. Friends of mine started a video recording place. What is that? What's that? We go to film your show. Can we film your show? I said, yeah. And they did. And it went into the shops were starting to, the video shops. And it was pirated by everybody. And I said to these producer friends who were saying, they're stealing it. I said, do me a favor. Give it to people. Give it to people in the communities. Black people, Indian people, white people, gay people. And they did. And I built up an incredible audience among 10, 12, 13-year-old kids who had been told by their parents, "Julle kom nie aan die kamer nie, man, ons besig om in te kyk." So at 3 o'clock in the morning, they tiptoe down and watch my videos. Not understanding about the politics, but understanding the prejudice.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So now, I'm talking about 3 generations further, the 12-year-olds. At the Perron, we have a darling trust that works with the kids, and they all want to know about Tannie Evita, and they ask me about her. And when she's there, they hug her. No, it's
beautiful.
There's a lovely, also the extraordinary freedoms that we can enjoy.
Yeah.
Besides freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of choice, we can marry anybody we love.
Yeah.
They don't have to be gender perfect. We can really, truly share each other's fears and try and solve it with humor without feeling that we are intruding. It's a wonderful place to be. It can be lost terribly quickly. We've got to be very, very careful not to take things for granted.
So, Peter, I see a 78-year-old in front of me who is energetic, vibrant, colorful as ever. And I'm thinking, what's the story with this latest show, which you call Sell by Date? Surely it can't be referring to you.
Well, sell by date is usually something that you look at a tin and you see it sell by date, meaning it goes off. And I think to myself, I've been that tin for a long time. Am I going off? I don't think so. I am definitely in a new era of self-awareness after COVID. I think COVID really, truly was a horrible shock.
Yeah.
Where suddenly I didn't have a career. Suddenly I didn't have an alphabet. And I think COVID had a little tail that keeps wagging because I do not remember things as I used to remember things. So that's another discipline that's back into my life where I make sure that every week I spend 2 hours doing 2 shows, even if there are 5 people there, the cat's there, that's the most important thing, just to actually keep the ball rolling. But the sell by date, I think, sell by date is forced on people. On teachers, they have to retire because they're 55 or 60 years old. Teachers are at their best when they're 90. And they should die in front of the class. That's a lesson. So the reason I am as free as I am is because I've been unemployable since the censor board made me unemployable in 1975. I have to do my own work and I have to be responsible for me. I haven't got time to feel sorry for myself as time goes by. I couldn't be bothered. That's why Evita has the birthday on the same day as I do.
Yes.
So she has a great birthday. She's 10 years older than me. Sei gesund, Liebchen. I'm very happy about that.
And as you said a little bit earlier, rather retread. You don't need to retire.
Well, they say you retire. And I thought, how do I rework this word? And I thought, tired. And I said, retire? No, darling, retread. And, okay. You can do it with a car. Why couldn't you do it with your life? Yeah.
So what can't you do that you could do 20, 30 years ago?
I can't cut my toenails.
That's a problem.
It's bloody impossible. I can't get down there and, So I now go every 6 weeks to a wonderful woman in Cape Town and she does my toes Because it's one of the things that one is so busy with things that are here. What about the feet, And
Well, welcome to the world of pedicures.
yeah. No, absolutely. So, what can't I do? I think I can still do everything, but I am careful not to overdo things. There is a new F word in my vocabulary, and that is falling.
Yes.
Since the knee thing.
Yeah.
And I've always walked very quickly, and suddenly you're down. It's frightening, and I have started sharing that with many of my aged friends who think they're 12 and they're actually nearly 85. So one has to be careful.
Yeah,
one has to be careful.
Talk to me about your friends.
I have wonderful friends. I have friends that go right back to school days.
Wow.
Old girlfriend, she must be a girlfriend in substandard 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's her name?
Her name is Sergeant. She was Sergeant Burrell. She's now Sergeant Uys. She married Stanley Uys, the journalist.
Yeah.
Lives in London, but I see her always. Every time we see each other, we say, hey, I'm your boyfriend, I'm your girlfriend, huggy. I love her so much. And it's wonderful sharing memories with that's also fun.
Yeah.
To be together with people that you've known for a long time and really laugh at the madness. I love my friends who have got grandchildren.
Yes.
I've got cats.
And dogs. Apparently.
And dogs, but more cats than dogs.
Yeah.
The dogs bark outside, the cats purr inside.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by young people and fascinated by questions and I am sort of the godfather, and Evita's the godmother of many little ones that have grown up into late teenage, early 20s,
Amazing.
Dazzling young people with all the things that I hoped they would inherit from me as a godparent.
Yeah. And on that topic, you've done a lot of work in the broader community, particularly around HIV and AIDS. Is that something you still do? Is it a chapter that you reflect on with a lot of pride, I'm sure?
It was so important to confront my fear, because I had friends, and I'd never forget how their partners would say to me, come sit down. I thought, I better not breathe, I'll catch it, all that nonsense. I thought, how am I going to do this? I've got to confront it like I confronted apartheid.
Yeah.
How did I get round my terror of being responsible for that fascism? Humor.
Yeah.
And so I thought, why don't I just do a show? 10 minutes, just 10 minutes thing. How would I do it? So I started structuring something. I got structured with a title. I got a title, For Fact's Sake, which is just a wonderful thing when people say it fast. For fuck's sake. And I suddenly thought, I tell you what, I'm going to take this to schools and do them as a sort of this is the problem with all this and high schools. So I sent a few emails out, just beginning of email time, to the year 2000. 199, and I said, I've got an hour entertainment, Pieter-Dirk Uys, and we've got Evita, and we made for humor and everything. And 6, 7 of them immediately reacted and said, we would love it. And the one principal said, how much is it? And I thought, I haven't thought of that. I said, no, it's free. The best thing I have ever done in my life. Okay. I have been to nearly, I would say, 2 million South African kids since 2000. Because most schools said, fantastic, but what are you going to say? And I said, I'm not going to tell you. And I use words. You've got to use words. But there are these kids, and I say, listen, I'm 60, and you're 12. Let's make a deal. I make you feel 25 when you'll make me feel 16. Yeah. And I said, when I was your age, we knew nothing about sex. It was all about the birds and the bees. How does a bird fuck a bee? You say that in a school hall. Those kids will listen to everything you say for the rest of your life. Some of the school teachers went white. The black school teachers went white. But to hell with it. That's it. That's the lesson I also learned. Speak the language the kids understand. Anyway, so this little project suddenly blossomed out into a passion. I just went everywhere. I went everywhere. I traveled in a car in the middle of the Free State trying to find a school, and I thought, I'm lost, and potholes, and that there are the kids waiting for me. I'm an hour late, and it's hot, and they're under sort of like things so that they're all looking at me thinking, it's another white person, late person. And then somebody said, it's Pieter-Dirk Uys. And they come running and they pick me up. I thought, oh, God, gaan my doodmaak. They lift me up and they carry me into the school hall and they sing Nkosi Sikeleli to me.
Wow.
And, you know, I'm now still, I meet middle-aged people, men, who say, I remember everything you said at school. I was in the school, you know.
Amazing.
Or, hey, Peter, look, I'm still alive. So, but now, just to actually undo this bouquet, there are so many possibilities to live with HIV/AIDS now, with many things, many medications, and all those things are there. But a 12-year-old boy with an erection and dreams of wanting to do nice things, which he has seen in the palm of his hand, in the TikTok or wherever, you've got to tell him about the dangers of unsafe sex. Nobody's doing that anymore. So I'm back.
Amazing.
I'm back.
Such
Another
important
thing
work.
I've done, which I must thank COVID for, is I didn't know what to do with the lockdown. What do I do? I'm sitting at home growing a beard. Evita's gone. My theatre's finished. There are no audiences. The one thing I don't have in my website are my reviews. I've got all my plays are in the website for the public. Wonderful feedback from all over the world. But how do you actually put in a review sketch from 1981 for somebody in 2021 to read and make sense of it? So I thought, first of all, I've got to type them all because there was no internet in those days. And as I was typing Adapt or Die, Beyond the Rubicon, all that, I thought, how the hell did I get away with this? Was I crazy? I better do a little backstory to explain who these characters were. So I do that, and then I realize I've got to do another backstory to explain what apartheid was, because that was the ultimate obscenity.
Yeah.
Absurd obscenity. I did that. I end up with 488 pages, a book with pictures. I thought, I'm going to send it to my publisher, which I did. And of course, everybody's working from home. And they got back to me. They said, this is extraordinary. It was from 1981 to 1994, called one-man shows. They said, it's incredible, but there are no buyers. And they were right, in the middle of that COVID nightmare. And I thought, what am I going to do? I thought, nonsense. I've got a website. I'm going to put this book on my website, pdu.co.za, free. I'm now on my 4th volume.
Amazing.
It's gone to the schools. The school kids are doing the sketches. The questions are coming from Bulgaria, all over the world. Wow. People are writing, kids are writing. That is a great liberation for me. And also, it has helped me come to terms with being nearly 80, because I can now go back to being 40 and find out exactly how that alphabet worked, how much of it is useful, not just little jokes and gags and things, although the censor board is very funny when they banned all those swear words and had them typed by a typist. Crazy. So that has been also, for me, a very exciting challenge. Yeah. Because I end my show, Sell by Date, by sitting on that stage after I'd been lying on a table doing my exercises. Because I always find people in the audience who also have done the knees. Yeah. And many of them have not done the exercises. And I say to them, you are going to suffer. And then I say, I'm going to show you how to do exercises. And then when it's over and I sit there and I say, you know, they say, because also I'm having a conversation with God, because my therapist at the hospital said, Mr. Uys, listen, you must be very serious. When you do all these things, you have got to do them properly. You mustn't cheat. I said, I don't cheat. He said, of course you cheat. I can see you cheat. You mustn't cheat because God is watching you. So I said this to the audience in London. I mean, maybe God's watching me in Cape Town, but here in Soho, really?
Yeah. No, God lives in Cape Town. We all know that.
God, of course, yes, lives in Cape Town. And so I have my conversation there and say, oh, yes, they say when you want to hear God laugh, you tell him your plans. And then I just say to the audience and to God the plans. And I'm planning the next 3 years, the next 6 years, the next 9 years. In fact, the next 12 years, I'll be 90 years old.
Yes.
Then they can shoot me, finish and clear.
One day at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. So all that is a result of literally forcing the next letter in my alphabet, because nothing is a gift anymore. Nothing is being handed to me.
So no fears. Because, I mean, if I think I'm 54, like 64 feels a bit scary to me. 74 feels very scary. 84 seems ridiculously scary. Is it scary to think of getting older?
Not at all. No, not at all.
Amazing.
Not at all. I really don't want to lose my mind. But I'm married to a fantastic man. I am so extraordinarily blessed, who's 22 years younger than me, which means that I'm only 23 years younger than I am now.
Yes.
You know, it's like amazing. And we have a circle of friends of that age group who don't treat me as an old bookie, but I do walk slower than they do. Yeah. And they climb mountains, and I sit down and sit in the 5-star restaurant with a whiskey, and I wait for them to come and have a drink. But there is, you know, I've talked it through. We've discussed it. Dying, what will happen when I am dead? I said, I don't want you to have to sit here and think, oh my God, what do I do? I said, this is that. All these things are sorted out. In fact, I just want to kick back to another thing that happened to me when my father died. And that morning, I thought, when we were kids in Pinelands with a thatched roof house, he used to say to us, if something terrible happens, grab the top drawer and run to the neighbors, because the papers are in the top drawer.
Yeah.
Alles belangrik is in die boonste draai. Pa's dead. I think I can hear his voice saying, when something terrible happens, open the top drawer and run to the neighbors. So I go there, and there's a letter written for me, and I could see it as recent because of shaky handwriting. And in it he says, when you read this, I am dead. Now you do the following. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Everything that has to be done, he did it. It took me 2 hours and 14 phone calls, and it was sorted out. That was a lesson.
Yeah.
And I've done the same thing. I've even decided, listen, don't have all this weeping and nonsense. If you're going to have a gathering of the friends, because I'm not there, everybody must come dressed as Evita Besaidnet. All the women must be dressed as Evita Besaidnet in black, and some of the men can do it as well, because that's also fine. Because that's what we must do. That's where the laughter's got to be, because I couldn't be bothered with people. Nonsense. I think it's also a state of mind. I think everybody has to find that state of mind. And I highly respect people's fear of being in a place where nobody's going to embrace them. You know, I'm all for saying to my friends when they say, "Jy sal die hemel toe gaan. You won't, you know, do you believe in God?" I said, listen, I have great faith. I've got faith, but it's not necessarily the faith that I was brought up in the Dutch Reformed Church, where white people only could go to heaven. And then there's that little tension thing. So I don't want to fight with anybody, but I'll just say that one of us will be wrong.
Yeah, I love it. I love your hack, which I can identify with, of hanging around people younger than you. I do the same. I've got a lot of younger friends, and I just find their energy, their youthfulness, their curiosity is energizing.
But also their old age. Some 25-year-olds are 80.
Yes.
You know, no. I said, well, come on. And that's also extraordinary, but it all comes back from home life and from parents and grandparents. It's an extraordinary. I haven't got any family left now. No, I do have a sister in London. I mean, she's there, but one is very aware of them in me.
Yes,
I suddenly celebrate the fact that I said something in the same way that my mom used to say it, my German mother, and I love going to Berlin where she was born. And be part of that echo. Yeah. In fact, the show I'm doing tonight is called The Echo of a Noise.
Yes.
Which is my memoir. Yeah.
Amazing. Do you have any fear of, we were talking earlier about the relevance of older people, and a society which tends to disregard older people and forget about the value, not only that they've added, but the value that they can still add to the world, to society. Do you have any concerns or fears around relevance?
I think we ignore age at our peril.
Yeah.
And really, truly, I encourage people older than me to make a noise louder than mine. And they say, oh, but, we can't. I said, what do you mean you can't? And I've got some friends whose grandchildren are now in the gender fluid confusions. And I can't clarify to these older people, except say, take religion out of this. It's nothing religious here. They won't go to hell. They're in hell now at the moment because they can't find out who they are.
Yeah.
But the wisdom
Such a pity.
in old age, wisdom in black people is, to me, so precious.
Yes.
Because I have friends who have got parents still alive who can't read or write and yet manage to say things in a sentence that I could never have thought of. So really, truly, I think there's an enormous amount that people of our generation can contribute to the future. And again, Evita's, she says, you don't need a crystal ball to see where the world is going. The future of South Africa is certain. It's just the past that is unpredictable. And that's so true.
Yeah.
So she's got a long life ahead.
Clearly.
And she'll go to my funeral.
Well, the one thing I was just picturing with all these guests dressed up as Evita Bezuidenhout at your funeral, it's going to be one hell of a party.
It's going to be
I hope can I get an invitation or a pre-invitation maybe?
Behave.
Okay. I know it's going to be in a very long time. But that's amazing. Your attitude, your approach, your philosophy, your energy is inspiring. Is there anything that younger people, the kind of millennials, the Gen Zs, anything that you think we can learn, the technology that's kind of emerging? Is there anything that you see value in, or do you think most of it is just distracting and kind of heading in the wrong direction?
People say, do you regret anything? Of course not. I'm just sorry that I didn't give myself enough time to do languages.
Yes.
I have a touch of various languages. I can manage to find out where the toilet is in 6 or 7 languages. But I say to my friends who have got grandchildren, I want to give my grandchildren a present. What can I give them? I say, give them language. Pay for 2 years of lessons in Chinese, because when they are 16, they will have to speak Chinese to get a job in South Africa. And if you can speak French, English, German, Japanese, Zulu, Xhosa, Tswana, Sotho, Venda, for God's sake, it's like learning the words of songs. Make it sexy. That's what I say to everybody, young. I said, how many languages do you speak? And praat Afrikaans and then bad English. And I said, what about Xhosa? And I said, jy gaan sukkel, my mannetjie. Jy gaan sukkel.
I believe there is science and studies that have been done with older people learning languages, and the mental acuity that they gain through that staves off Alzheimer's and all sorts of things.
Yes.
So there's something profound in what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I love going to Germany, and after 2 weeks, I can manage to have a conversation without umlaut. Not Uber, but Uber.
Beautiful. Yeah. And what do you read? What are you reading or consuming media-wise?
I love reading biographies.
Me too.
Autobiographies, I find the lies are so convincing that I believe everything. But biographies mainly, and 6 or 7 biographies of the same character from different sides.
That's fascinating.
Just because it's so part of my life as well.
Give us a few examples.
Well, I've just done a whole research on John Gielgud, because there was a wonderful play in London based on John Gielgud's production of Hamlet with Richard Burton.
Yes.
And so I did another thing on Richard Burton also, whom I also admire hugely as a performer, and really resent the fact that he just didn't do what he should have done as his extraordinary talent. I mean, yeah, he fell in love with Elizabeth Taylor. And I mean, that's another story. So, politicians I try and avoid because that's really, that's, couldn't be bothered about that. But democracy, you see, democracy, that's what it is. Every, I would say every, not necessarily government, every nation deserves the government they get through democracy.
Yeah.
And if you don't vote, don't moan.
Notwithstanding your knee surgery and the recovery challenges around that, what exercise are you able to do?
Well, every six months, I go for my tests: the skin and the prostate and the finger up the nine, the dinges. And yeah, it's part of the job. You've got to take your car in for a service. Yeah. You can't just race down the racing track and not expect the wheels to fall off. So I've had my lenses put in, so I can that's
amazing.
Fine.
That I've also had that.
Yeah,
done.
and. Okay. Checking the teeth and what? Yeah, it's also part of my responsibility.
Yeah.
To my cats and to my husband.
So, and you eat well?
He's a cook. He's a vegan. He's a
lucky.
Vegan and fantastic. I love the vegan cook. But I eat my steaky as well, so that's fine. Which he doesn't mind. It's not that I'm being, none of that.
Bit of wine.
I love that. I love wine. I love my Chivas Regal whiskey, but all within the framework of enjoying it.
Yes.
I do not enjoy drinking while I work. In the 3 weeks in the UK while I had a show, everybody drank wine and I had a soda water finished in Claret because I can't mix the two. I'm so scared that I will suddenly find out that I'm better drunk at a performance than sober, which sometimes happens. But again, I don't have any judgment there and It's lekker.
What are you excited about? There's clearly lots of things, and you are living each day as it comes.
I've given this to Evita now because when I say it, people say, "What?" My year was 365 days. Now my year is 2 days. Today and tomorrow.
I like that.
So today that's it. It's now. Everything is now. You smell it, you eat it, you touch it, you listen to it, you remember it. And tomorrow will be there in a good way if you have got all your little eggs in the bright basket from today.
Yeah.
So I'm already planning ahead for 2026 because you can't suddenly wake up and say, I want a theatre for next week.
Yeah.
So I've planned various things like my next edition of one-man shows, which I've got another 2 to go. And that to me is the inspiration of enjoying the moment, which is inked in. Today was inked in and tomorrow is inked in. The day after tomorrow is still penciled because you never know. I mean, look what COVID did.
Completely.
In one day, I had to cancel 185 performances in a day. In America, in Europe, in South Africa, it was like, why?
So
There's a virus without a cure. What can I tell you? It was, what a lesson that was.
So the cliche of being in the moment, I mean, it's something we all strive to do, try and various techniques to be present and be in the moment. And your aging years are bringing you back into that space. And you seem to be more and more mindful of the present time and the activities that you're engaged with. And that's so powerful and valuable.
And exciting.
Yeah.
And sometimes extremely funny. You know, when I get the cold fur from the cat, when I've been away for a week and the cat goes, and, so,
magnificent.
Yeah, man.
Sure. So I want to ask you about music. I want to ask you about music that, a particular piece of music maybe that you remember that you would share with us.
Well, I grew up with music in my house. My parents were music pianists. My sister's a pianist. Mozart was my best friend when I was a little boy. But if you want one song from me that just puts so much in it of, besides history, besides glamour, it just reminds you of the pain of war and of fear. Marlene Dietrich, whom I've always loved, singing Where Have All the Flowers Gone? which is, I think, one of the greatest anthems for the future of humanity.
Amazing. I'm going to play that in the car on the way home.
Please do.
I will.
Yeah.
Peter, just to round this up, I mean, it's been a remarkable 45 minutes or an hour just to sit with you and appreciate your remarkable life, your confronting of a society that's been a crazy society, to try and explain to somebody from outer space what South Africa's been through in the last 50 or 60 years would be impossible. You've not only understood it, but you have confronted it fearlessly, but also with this incredible gift of humor. And just what an amazing gift to share with old people and young people and everyone, South Africans and beyond. This great gift that you've brought us, and to see this evolution into your later years is doubly inspiring, because you're not stopping, you are creating. And creativity alone, I mean, it just struck me, the power of creativity, not only to change the world, but to reinvigorate and to remain youthful with this sense of observing life with a lens that is actually quite funny and hysterical at times. So you've brought so much to this country and the world. Thank you for sharing your perspectives of aging and the time and place that you're at in your life. It's been an absolute privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Remember, retirement isn't about slowing down. It's about living the next chapter on your terms. I'm Gideon Novick, and this has been the Rocktirement podcast, brought to you by Circle Senior Living.